Everybody, welcome back. We are playing as Kit right now, and we are going to be doing our tour of the Crystarium, which is the city-state in Lakeland. And as you can see, we have the transition pathway between Lakeland itself and the Crystarium. We got this very pretty bridge with the iron lattice work going on over the archway. We got my little baby Ruta with me. We got the little Dodo flapping, trying his best. And you still get a good view of like the mountains and everything from here. But this is the Crystarium itself. So you can either walk straight ahead, and right off the bat you can see the aetheryte for the city. And if you take a sharp right here, this is kind of like one of the agricultural spots where they do their growing, they do food, things like that. Once you get far enough in the storyline, you will find the minstrel for the first in this area. He'll kind of just be chilling over here by these boxes with this guy who's just taking a break. And you can get your extreme trials from him. And this is a really pretty area. It's a lot calmer. You don't have as many other players coming in here because there isn't a lot for players themselves to do outside of like a couple story missions further on. And I'm just gonna live on the second bar so I can use the sprint button, make life easier. And opposite of that, like I said, there's the aetheryte right inside this main building here. And then over here is the Amaro Ranch. Technically it's called Temrose Rookery, but it's just easier to call it the Amaro Ranch, because this is where the first variant of Amaja here are actually Amaro farmers. And they raise and train these Amaros, which are the a first variant of Chocobos. There is still Chocobos in this world, but people tend to ride the Amaro more. And then we have the resident Chocobo over here for training combat. Then over here is the Clan Nutsy, which is still a fun name in my mind. But this is essentially where you get your hunting marks so that you can do bounties and things like that for killing creatures. Helps get you some XP boosts if you need some help with leveling up. Gives you some money, and it gives you some gear that you can change into, use for glams if you don't like the strength level of it later on. And up here is one of the better spots for getting a good vantage point. It does take a bit of run because you do have to go up all the stairs. And this is like halfway through the storyline. This is a major spot that you usually end up going for the storyline progression. And you get a really good view of the mountains here. You get a good look at the bridge. You can see how it's kind of built and set up. And then when you look back, you can also get a pretty decent look of like the upper levels of the Crystarium itself. You can also jump off the watchtower like I just did, because you're in a city-state. You won't have to worry about being attacked, and therefore don't have to worry about dying. But just remember, you are able to fall off of that, so please be careful, exercise caution. Got an Ethernet shard here for the Rookery. Another thing to point out is that there isn't an Aetherite shard over in the first area I showed you where the gardening happens. Because like I said, that isn't really as major of a spot for people. And then here we have the main atrium. I want to call it like a garden just because it's like a greenhouse dome effect with the roof. And we'll go down the side hallways in a second, but first I just want to show you the upper level of here. Because this does have an outer balcony where it doesn't immediately connect to anything. But you're able to get a pretty decent aerial view from like the, I want to say courtyard area, once you get past the Aetherite Plaza. As well as, well, I don't know why I changed out of that page, I needed that. a connection to the Baldwin, which is one of the areas that you can do most of your crafting and gathering in. You have your levy guy over here along with a merchant and mender. You got a script exchange for if you're doing white scripts and yellow scripts. Then we have the crystalline mean here, which is a majority of the first crafting and gathering inside the Crystarium itself. Those are sorted up into sections, so it's not going to be like you could just go to Catless herself and just run everything through her, because she basically gets you into the group, and then depending on, like, say if you're a miner, then you would go over here and talk with Keshi, and then it's going to be different groups. They are having some smaller groupings where it's like miner and botanist, I think it is, are in one group, as opposed to like crafter and like weaver and leather worker, because they would go to someone else. I believe they go to this recording node here, which introduces you to the person you work with later on. Like I said, I personally haven't done a lot with my crafting and gathering on this character, so I'm not able to show you that at this moment. And there is an Ethernet shard for the crystalline mean, because this is one of the bigger spots for crafters and gatherers to just come here and get their work done, so they don't have to run like a psychopath to get somewhere. We do that, and then up these stairs. I believe it's these stairs. It's been so long since I've actually used the stairs, it's hard to keep track of what goes where anymore. We do have a male Moogle here. He's just chilling out on the upper level with this guy. And then we have an Ethernet shard here, because this is the... basically think of it as like an airship launch for the first. But instead of airships, it's the MRO launch, where the MROs from down below that were being raised and basically ranch duded, they are the main use of airborne transportation for this area. Because most of the airships are used by Yulmore, because that's where all the fancy hoity-matoity people live. Whereas the Crystarium is more, we like the idea of it being fancy, but we also know what we gotta do. We're willing to work to get it made. And most people don't come out here just because there isn't anything here except for the lookout. But this is another good spot if you wanted to get some good photos of the area. Because you got a really good, like, uninhibited view of the mountains. You can see further out. You can't see the bridge as well, but you're able to see basically like one of the security trellises there. You get a good look at the trees, and then you're able to look at, I want to say this is where like the denizens of the Crystarium actually live. We don't go over there personally, so I personally don't know. But you get a good shot of that. You get a really like good look of the crystal tower itself up close. And another reason why people mostly don't come here is just because of the fact that it takes almost an entire sprint boost just to get back. Then there is another watchtower up there if you want to get more higher aviation shots. Aerial shots. There's the English. And then we have the Amaja, who are able to transport us to... This one is Calusia, if memory serves, and then Adoroy takes you to Amarang. Because you would travel with those beforehand, like before you unlock the actual walkway to get to Amarang from Lakeland. Get that guy there. Then you got these stairs here. And then once you get down here, you end up on the other side of this gate that I kind of looked at before heading over to the crystalline mean. And this is how you end up over here. There really isn't much here except for just a way to jump into the main courtyard from there. So it saves a little bit of time, but... So for a good chunk of the time, this area is empty because this is mostly just like the landing pad for most of the civilians. And in here is essentially like the medical station or hospital. This is like the head alchemist who works on healing people. We do come in there a few times for the MSQ, mostly because Thancred loves to get himself hurt. And we still have the really pretty purple-leaved trees that are basically sun-bleached from Lakeland in here because this is the area for Lakeland. Then this is the other side of the Aetheryte Plaza. Like, if we turn right, you can see the Aetherytes right there. So this would be the right pathway from the Aetheryte. And this takes us immediately to Musica Universitas, which is essentially the merchants area for the city-state. Like, you have the Silver Bazaar for Uda and hawkers for Limsa. You have Musica for here. And you've got your market boards. You only really have them in this one area here, as opposed to the other city-states where you do have like 2 sets of market boards near the summoning bell. So it's kind of like Ishgard in that respect. And you do have the summoning bell here. Straight shot across from that is the gemstone trader, which the gemstones you get from doing fates in the first, as well as your merchant mentor and an Ethernet shard here, just so that way you don't have to do all the foot traveling that way. You do talk to Bragi a bit. He is an active character in the storyline. Then if you head further south this way, straight ahead is the Pendants, which is the inn for the Crystarium. You got Silgum here, who's kind of like your main man. He checks you in. For obvious reasons, like where I am in the storyline, I'm not able to go into the room to show you it, but he would be the guy to talk to for that. And then over here to the left, once you leave, once you get up the stairs, is the Crystarium's version of the Adventurers Guild, which is the Wandering Stairs. And here you're able to meet up with the people that you're able to start your side missions for your role quests. So if you end up playing, like, maining a healer when you're in the storyline, you would be working with Gilles. If you were a tank, it'd be Grandson. Melee DPS would be Lurik. And I'm not going to explain what you do with them, but they are it's a storyline that you would have to have finished before you're able to finish the first half of Shadowbringers. So this is an important place because this is where you get introduced to them before they start traveling throughout Norvrent and having to do your missions with them. And because they're so close to the market, it doesn't have its own Ethernet shard. And we're just gonna use this to teleport back to the Aetheryte Plaza, make life easier for everyone. So we're back here. Out there is the plaza. We just came from over that way because that way is the market. So we're gonna head down this way now. And I will show the map overview after showing you everything, so you have a general idea. If you take an immediate left down the hallway, you end up back in the Rookery, or the Amaro Ranch, along with the Clan Nuts thing. But we're not gonna linger there. We're gonna keep going down the stairs because they love their stairs. And there are 2 areas in this section that share an Ethernet. The first one is this section down here, which is... This section down here, which is more kind of like the botanist area, where they grow their medicinal herbs, things like that. They work with the alchemists, they work with the ranchers, things like that. They don't focus on produce for eating more than they do the actual medicinal side of growing things. And there is a staircase that leads directly down there right here. Got the Ethernet shard right here in front of the doors for this area, which is essentially the mother of all libraries. Like, think Library Congress and then go fancifuller, where you have this giant spiral staircase for a tower, which is essentially run by Morin, who basically lives in books. He is one of the weirdos that needs to love knowledge about everything. And you can jump down this tower. It doesn't do as much damage as like the watchtower out at the Amaro Ranch. But that's really all that's over in this hallway, just because of how much of it connects to the upper part. Return to the Aetheryte Plaza one more time. So, also you have a pretty good view of the bridge from the entryway into the Aetheryte Plaza there. But we're going to go through the main door here that would lead into the empty courtyard area, because we're going to be shooting across the courtyard to this door here. I'm not able to go in there right now, like I said, because of the current progression in the storyline. The guy who lives there is missing. But there is an Ethernet shard here, just so that way you're not having to run across an empty courtyard the entire time. And this would lead into the Crystal Tower itself. And for obvious reasons, there's guards, because this is like the dudes... Oh, I can. And then this is inside the Crystal Tower itself. They don't really show how deep into the tower it is. But this is essentially like the meeting room where you end up talking to the guy who runs the town, or at least works with the citizens in the town. And it also has the portal that you can use to go back to your home realm. Because we are in the first, this isn't the source. So we're going to need a way to go back and forth. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's everything. Because the only other thing I could think of would be like the occasional yellow quest over here. Later on, there is a dungeon that becomes available in this area. And then back at the pendants, there is also the beginning of the Pixie Beast tribe that you can get from over on this side. If you went over here, there would just be some kids kind of talking around amongst themselves here. And there would actually be a little pixie just kind of chilling, hiding behind a tree, watching them. And that's how you would get started with the Pixie Beast tribe there. Alright. One last return to the Aetheryte Plaza. And then obviously once you get all the Ethernet shards attuned to, you're able to teleport to the closest outside open world area from there, which would be Lakeland itself. But yeah, here is another quick look over of the area. In terms of map, you can see where the Ethernet shards are. It shows where the clan, the hunt board for Clan Nutsy is. Got the main Aetheryte in the middle. Got your market right down here in this lower section, along with the inn at the far south. And this is one of the other security towers that I had mentioned when we were out on the Amaro Ranch, over on this guy, where you could see the giant tall pillar. There is a second one that is right here. And then here is your porter, which is, like I said, the way to get through to Calusia and Amarang before the footpath became available. Got the delivery Moogle, and that should be everything. Oh, there is also a bird watcher in the Crystarium. When you're first starting the quest, it's only going to focus on the weather in Nordramp, because that's all it can see. As you progress through the storyline, however, they are able to see what the weather is like in your homeworld. Thanks to the help of a pixie who is basically just like, if that human can do it, I can do it too. I shit you not, that is legitimately the entire storyline with that, was there was a pixie that was like, I want to watch the sky too. So they get the ability to tell you what the weather is like in your homeworld. But that is everything for the Crystarium itself. Got the main entrance out into Lakeland here. It's a pretty in terms of the actual map size itself, it's not the hugest one. It's not like Ishgard where it kind of sprawls out, but it builds itself up on layers, which is kind of where you're able to fit most of everything in here. And yeah, that should be it for here. Next, I'm planning on taking one of the Amoros to Yulmore and Calusia to show you the next region there. And if I don't see you there, hopefully you have a good one and I'll see you around. Goodbye! Well, that was a horrible shot. Goodbye.